Greetings and welcome back to Christian News and Views. This is episode 55, and this is Friday, so we are in recap day. We're going to take a look at what this past week brought. And we start out with Monday, and on that day there was a couple of things that went on. We'll look at the first one was the Electoral College. Then there's Carter's funeral and Big Lot, so three altogether. Electoral College, I discussed the fact I pointed out that it was not a close election. Some people, to this very day, are trying to claim that it was not not a landslide, but it was by any measure. They talk about how close things were here and there, the popular vote in the states and so forth. Well, see, these people who make these claims simply do not understand why we have the Electoral College, or they ignore it. The Electoral College was designed to level the field. Yes, you might argue that the popular vote was close, but that's because say, for New York, I don't know what the popular vote was, but I'm pretty sure it was probably in favor of Biden. And it was, that's a big state, and they have a lot of people in it. So when our founders founded the nation, they wanted a little state like Vermont or Maine to have an equal say with a country or a state such as New York. Well, we have some pretty big states in this country. We have New York. Population-wise, I'm thinking mostly population-wise. Then California, Texas. We have some big states. Then we have some others that are, got large populations, but they're not quite as big. And then you have your smaller states. And the idea was they wanted every state to have an equal say. It was a representative democracy, not a pure democracy. You don't want a pure democracy. That's basically mob rule. And so they designed on purpose this Electoral College to even the playing field so that everybody, whether it's a small state or a big state or a medium state, they have an equal voice and can be heard on the national stage. So that is something that we need to consider when looking at the Electoral College. It has served this country well, and people want to tamper with it. They want to do away with it. Most of the people who do that are on the left side of the political spectrum, because sometimes they can get majority rule in different cases. Well, I have some news for them. The majority of the people are usually wrong, not necessarily always, but even in the day of Christ, the majority of the people in Jerusalem at that particular time wanted him crucified. Were they right in that? No, they were not. But they ruled the day, and that was the popular opinion of the day. And so, at least in Jerusalem. And so, majority doesn't always rule, isn't always right. So what you want is to have everybody be able to come to the table and have a equal say. And then you go on and you try to present your ideas, get some backing and so forth. But the Electoral College is a vital system, I guess you'd call it, in our government. It keeps people, it keeps this country, I think that's one of the reasons why this country has remained so strong and united, is because we have this equality across the board. Now, in that article that I had referred to, they didn't really mention too much about his President Biden's mess that he was leaving behind, especially the mess of the pardons. I've gone over pardons before, not going to do it again, but I did explain that they're legal, they're constitutional, And how they're going to undo some of the things he's done, I have no idea. But he left a mess. He forgave people. In some cases, there was no reason for a forgiveness. There was no redeeming factors involved or anything like that. He just redeemed. He just pardoned them. It seems like to cause problems for the coming president, which would be Trump. We don't know. Don't always know what that man thinks, but so we'll just have to wait and see the consequences. The other subject that we covered on Monday was Carter's funeral. And by the way, there's been parades through the week, and I believe it was yesterday they had the funeral in Washington, D.C. And they showed a picture in the paper, and I thought it was kind of an interesting picture there. Let me see if I can, if I got it here. Yes, I do. So I want to just show this to you. Don't know how well you'll see it, but this picture right here, this is, you have here, right there, in the front row, you have former presidents. Then you come back here, you still have former, so let's see, you go, here's Clinton, Hillary, Bush's, Obama, and then a President-elect Trump right there. And so you have different people. That's quite a picture when you start and think about it, or stop and think about it, of those who have been in the top of our government and have, they're all in one place there. I think that's really unique. I hope they do something with that picture because that's kind of a neat picture that they took. So anyhow, but he has been honored. But history is going to relegate his presidency probably as a weak presidency, but his legacy afterwards will probably be praised worldwide. Now, did I always agree with everything he said and did? No. But he did things, I believe. I can't read his mind, or couldn't read his mind, nor see his heart, but I believe he was saved, and I believe that he did things according to his faith, the way he understood the Bible, the way he applied things. That's why it's so important that you have the right Bible, you have the right kind of instruction, and attend the right church, because these are all going to impact your decisions, how you impact the world. And he had a pretty big humanitarian legacy that he left behind. History will look at all those over time, but right now I think they could say he went about doing good. So whether you liked him or not, whether you voted for him now, whether you thought he was a great president or not, you'll be hard-pressed to say that he did not allow his faith to rule. He did. And that's a credit to him. And so we'll just have to see how history plays out there. But that was my conclusion back then on Monday, and I'll stick with it. Then there was Big Lots. Many Big Lots stores are slated to be closed while they go through bankruptcy proceedings. The Gordon brothers bought the company assets and have announced that they will want to save jobs. And they have already made a deal with another outfit to buy those stores and so there'll be a name change and maybe even product change. I don't know about that. But this preserves jobs. And that sounds like good news to me. For both the employees and for their customer base. On Tuesday, we looked at what's called a big moment in history. That term was instigated or created by President-elect Trump. And he was talking about his election. I hope beyond, now the press looked at it as just a reference back to January 6th in 2021. But I look at it differently. I look at it and I look back at the and the things that he has done, that he did in his first administration. And now he's returning to office. And in that sense, it's a big moment because those were all big moments in his presidency. And I think there are big moments to come. On Wednesday, I talked about Alaska suing the Biden administration. The article said the U.S. state of Alaska has sued the Biden administration for what it calls violations of a congressional directive to allow oil and gas development in a portion of the federal Arctic National Wildlife Refuge, or ANWR, I pronounce it ANWR. And the fact that this decision was made as he's in that period of time where his presidency is almost over, the new president hasn't taken office yet, and so it's almost like in limbo, and he can do things that he don't have to worry about Congress or anything. He can do by directive or whatever, and he has made some decisions. So not only some pardons, but he's also made decisions, and one of them is on this Anwar thing that may cause some issues for the new president. And we'll have to see again about that. But while it's true that he seemed to help Trump get elected by some of his actions in the latter part of the election, it sure looks like he's putting stumbling blocks out there now. On Thursday, I usually do a study of the Word of God, and this is still a part of that. But I looked at Jesus Christ himself. I spent a little time looking at the men who were not Christians, or at least their Christianity was in doubt, but basically they were not Christians, and what they had to say about Christ. There are many people out there who say, "Oh, that's a fictional person. He never lived. He never." And then others who will lament he lived will say, "He never claimed to be the Christ." Well, there are personal testimonies by people who lived either during that time or shortly thereafter, and it's all found in a book called Many Infallible Proofs by Dr. Phil Stringer. I wish I've been announcing this all week, well, not all week, but on Thursday a lot, and now today again. Maybe I should get in contact with him and see if he wants to pay me for advertising this book. But anyhow, it's a great book if you can still get it. And the evidence that he provided about Jesus being a real person is just overwhelming, overpowering. You can't. They will dispute it, but you can't really dispute it. It's evidence. It's real evidence. Some of it is eyewitness. One of the things that it just leaves me laughing is some of them will say, well, the book of Mark, or some of them will claim the book of Matthew was based on the book of Mark, or the book of Mark was based on the book of Matthew. No, these were eyewitness accounts. Of course they're going to have some similarities. They watched the same man. They traveled with Jesus. They listened to Jesus. They were They probably talked back and forth with one another about the things that he said and so forth. So it's not so surprising that some of their gospels are almost identical. There are also differences. Why? Well, because Matthew is a different person than Mark, and both Matthew and Mark are a different person. Well, Luke wasn't traveling with them, but Luke kind of represents, whereas Mark represents Peter, Luke, in a way, you could say Luke represents Paul, because he traveled with Paul and did most of his research while he was doing the traveling, so he was influenced directly by Paul. So either amongst the apostles who traveled with Jesus, or like in the case of Paul, was trained by Jesus after Jesus' resurrection. Jesus took him out in the desert and trained him for about 3 years, almost the same period of time, or perhaps it could have been exactly the same period of time as the apostles had. And so uh, this book, uh, he could have probably gone into much more in depth than he did, but that she provided, it was just something that it's over. Like I said before, I hate to repeat myself, but it was overpowering. These people who claim to be so smart, they're left looking like fools. And so that was a good report there that Dr. Phil Stringer provided. And I might use that book some more because he's got some other items in there that are very, very strong. So, that being the case, this has been a very interesting week, an exciting week, if you will. So now we're bringing it to a close, and I appreciate those of you who are out there who tune in and watch and either follow me or subscribe to me. And so, if you do like this channel, I encourage you to subscribe using the icon right below here. Why? Well, for one thing, it's going to encourage my heart. Just having somebody out there who says that they like to listen to me, not supposed to have an ego, but I got one. And I like to have it stroked once in a while, just like you like to have yours stroked. And so it's encouraging to me. But it also opens up a window for you, that if you enjoy these, you don't have to hunt for them or search for them. They'll come right to you in your channel. And there's two podcasts that I do. One is this one here, Christian News and Views. The other one is called Becoming a Published Author is Fun, which it is, by the way. Aside from being an author, I'm also a publisher. And in the past, I've always published just my books, and then when Teresa started writing, published her books. Well, after she passed away, the Lord opened up the door for me to expand the business. And it's still in its growth stages. I'm still expanding it, and now I don't know where it's going to end, but right now I got 3 services. I have the basic authors training, which if you want to be a writer and you don't know how, or you're not all that confident, you think you need to maybe review some stuff and just get a good solid foundation. You want to be transformed into a published author, then that's basic authors training, which comes with a publishing package, which itself comes with a small marketing package. The publishing package is free if you choose to take it. The marketing package is included in your basic author's cost of your books, and so you can recoup that when you sell the book. And so it's basically for you, it ends up being free. And so that's that. Then there's ministry publishing, and that again, the publishing, you're going to be published. You're just not going to be taught how to write. I'll still edit, I'll still format, I'll even do a little teaching and coaching with you, but not to the extent of basic authors training. And again, you have the marketing aspect, which your customer pays for when they buy your book. And then there's Fast Track, which is basically ministry publishing on steroids. You do the whole thing in 90 days or less. So anyhow, that is what this week has been. I hope you've enjoyed it. And like I said, I just encourage you to subscribe. And I will do all in my power to create episodes that will inform, encourage, and inspire you. And that's a promise from me to you. You have a great day, a fantastic weekend, and I will see you in the next episode.